This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel this evening. And what I want to get to after reading a couple of things is the simple fact the Oilers have some deadline decisions to be made, and I think that's again what we keep coming back to every single day. Like I said, I was going to do it pretty much every day of the month. Why not now, coming off a 3-0 loss against the Arizona Coyotes? So, there's a couple of big fish, technically speaking, that the Edmonton Oilers have been now interested in, according to Elliotte Friedman and others amongst the Oilers' ranks over this season. Of course, number one name we've heard is Jean-Gabriel Pageau out of the Ottawa Senators. And then, of course, now we're starting to hear out Elliotte Friedman today in 31 Thoughts, Tomas Tatar. Now, quickly speaking, those are two guys that any casual NHL fan might be saying, oof, way out of the Oilers' price tag. But that's not the question today. The question I'd be doing is I'm going to straight up compare the two and ask you, realistically, price tag being price tag, what do you do and who would you go after? Who would you rather? So with that said, guys, if you're new to Dolany TV and you're saying, hey, I want to think about sticking around, honestly, I'm trying to hit 7,500 subscribers, so if you do that, that'd be fantastic for me. And of course, if you hit the bell, that's even better. That gets you notified of when I've got something going. So, now, let's get this going, because these are going to be Tomas Tatar's stats. You're only going to see my eyeballs, some kind of creepy little weird thing going on here tonight. These are Tomas Tatar's stats. Actually, I can kind of minimize those. That's a failure on my part. There we go. So, Tomas Tatar's stats. He had a career high 58 points last season with the Montreal Canadiens in 80 games. Now, absolutely beast moding with the Montreal Canadiens this season. He's got 20 goals. He's always been a mean goal scorer, that's for sure. The assists, he's got a career high, almost an assist. He's 3 shy at this point. And the one factor, though, he is a 0, an even 0 on the year instead of a plus 21 from last year. And for Tomas Tatar, you've seen 13 goals, even strength, 7 goals on the power play, 26 goals, even strength, 4 on the power play. And Tomas Tatar obviously playing big minutes up there in Montreal this season at 16 minutes and 25 seconds per game. So he's definitely slotted in on the Oilers' ice time chart, probably on the second line quite well. So you talk about that for Tomas Tatar, who's had a total of 562 career games and a total of 336 points. 50 of them have come in 55 games this season. So Tomas Tatar, guys, this is going to be the difficult one for the Oilers to pull off, because if the Oilers want to think about pulling off Tomas Tatar, it's probably going to cost you big. Remember, Tomas Tatar was part of the return for Max Pacioretty when the Canadiens traded legendary Hab Max Pacioretty. So keep that in mind. How do the Oilers go about getting that, right? The price tag's probably, realistically, and should be a first rounder plus or a first rounder straight up, depending where the Oilers are. But realistically, a first rounder out of a non-playoff or out of a playoff team, I don't think the Canadiens are doing that. So that's, you're guaranteed to be asking a little bit high, steep cost for Tomas Tatar, especially Elliotte Friedman in 31 Thoughts mentioned the possibility that, like, yeah, what if Montreal wants to contend next year? Are they just going to see you later Tomas Tatar? I don't think so. And that's the real interesting part here, is you're going to have to pry and dig to get something out for Tomas Tatar, who's making just under $5 million. Let me get the cap friendly on Tomas Tatar. I don't have that quite yet. So Tomas Tatar, obviously in that same move, you'd have to find some ways to move salary. Then all of a sudden you're complicating it, right? Because you got Gagne, you got Manning, you got Russell, you got so many guys that we do have to move. Obviously, the guy that you do have some flexible leeway in terms of salary with is Adam Larsson for some value, but are you really going to give up Adam Larsson at this point of the season? That all in itself becomes the question. Tomas Tatar making a $4.8 million cap hit. He's the top paid Montreal Canadian up front. So that's what you need to know on that front. So Tomas Tatar, that's the question mark right there. What do you do with a guy like that getting paid $4.8 million? So yeah, sure, if you trade Adam Larsson plus a second rounder and Sam Gagne and maybe, right, like, you just have to throw some stuff, probably get something else in return from Montreal. But you see, these deadline deals that involve 2, 3, 4 pieces and then 2 pieces on the other side don't happen that often. They're the big blockbuster of the day, and I don't think the Edmonton Oilers are quite yet primed to be making that one happen just based on this season so far. Like, it's a little bit sketchy, and especially since we're not parting with picks, that could be the other difficulty as well. So maybe I'm off on my value, but you get where I'm going, right? I'm naming the names and naming the stuff that does have to be involved. It's all about how you put the pieces together and make the salary fit at the end of the day for the Oilers. And that's one thing I haven't mentioned to you is what the Oilers' salary cap is looking like at this point. How about a big fat $716,000 in cap space? So technically speaking, you could do Adam Larson and a second round pick for Tomas Tatar and cap out and then go find a trade for Sam Gagner or Brandon Manning or Chris Russell, whatever you want to do. But I highly doubt that becomes the case at the trade deadline because I think the Oilers are pretty solidified with what they have. Now let's get over to Jean-Gabriel Pageau. This is the other fun one for the Edmonton Oilers. If I can find the Ottawa Senators on here. Ottawa Senators have $5 million in cap space, but here's what you need to know. Pageau making that 3.1. He's a UFA at the end of the year, unlike Tomas Tatar, who's signed for another year. So let me get you what Mr. Jean-Gabriel Pageau has been doing for the past 12 games. We've already checked in on him once this season, and he was off to a torrid pace, but talk about it now, and Jean-Gabriel Pageau not quite doing what he was doing earlier in the season, if memory serves. So let's get this right here. And let me get this out, and there we go. So that's Jean-Gabriel Pageau. And right there, let's get this. Yeah, sure, might as well put this right here. There we go, good enough. So Jean-Gabriel Pageau, 20 goals, 13 assists, 33 points in 11 plus minus on the Ottawa Senators. That's actually quite incredible, to be honest with you. A 17.2 shooting percentage. And of course, he's won 52.6% of his faceoffs this year. So that's a couple of key minutes. And as well, 19.18 seconds, or 19 minutes and 18 seconds on the board for him this season, average ice time per game. So Jean-Gabriel Pageau, you know what? That's not quite the light you up 50 points that Tomas Tatar has in the total of how many ever games. So now what I need to do is, of course, the other side to this, and this is where it gets interesting for you, because Jean-Gabriel Pageau, since Game 40 of the Ottawa Senators season, how about this? 0-0-0, and there's a whole bunch of zeros on here. There's only actually 4 points in the past 12 games for Jean-Gabriel Pageau. So you take away, what was it, a 13-point gap for him, or 33 points in 51 games. You take away 4 points in 12 games, well, suddenly you're talking 39 and 29, and that's a big difference. 29 points divided by 39 games times 82. Let me just do the math on that for you. How about a pace of 61 points? Now you're talking 33 points in 51 games times 82. Now that's only 55 points. Yeah, sure, that's still only a difference of 6 points, but that's quite the dramatic slowdown, right? Obviously, you're pacing down that much over the course of 12 games. That does hurt for Jean-Gabriel Pageau, but that's how hot he started the season, and maybe to a degree how good the Senators were doing, but it just is fact of the matter. So that leaves you, where are you looking for Jean-Gabriel Pageau? And of course, my good old favorite Twitter to follow in the Oilers realm, Jim Matheson's talking there's no way he gets a first. I'm sorry, there is going to be some team stupid enough to give up a first for Jean-Gabriel Pageau. That's just straight up the way it's going to go, probably plus as well. Because if you're looking at this the way it's going to go, right, Tomas Tatar being a winger, and then you've got Pageau being the center he is, right, obviously a 52.6% face-off percentage, and that all said and done, right, it does make it a little bit more difficult. And actually, Tomas Tatar is a center too. I thought Tomas Tatar was a winger. My bad. Tomas Tatar listed as a center, but I don't think he plays. Yeah, no, he doesn't play center. Never mind. He's a winger. He's a winger. Hockey Reference got Tomas Tatar incorrectly labeled. Okay, that's my bad. But look at it that way, right? Winger for Tomas Tatar. You've got a centerman in Jean-Gabriel Pageau. There's two different values. You've got point value versus player value, and Tomas Tatar's got the point value. Jean-Gabriel Pageau's got the player value. Now that in itself creates the predicament. If the Oilers are to target either one of these guys, the value that you have to give up is probably very identical The salary cap a little bit different, a span of $1.7 million in favor of Jean-Gabriel Pageau, but realistically, right, you're getting the points value, you're getting the production value, or you're getting the player value that is Pageau that fits in so nicely on that third line center role for the Edmonton Oilers. So that's where I turn it over to you. If you had to choose, if they're the only two options this trade deadline for the Oilers are Tomas Tatar or Jean-Gabriel Pageau, make your pick and make your case in the comments section down below. Guys, I'm Tyson. This is Stolny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's edition. It's a late night. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 7,500 right now. 7554. Guys, I am up on out of here.